How does one come to hate money? How does one come to hate money? Well, answer. One comes to hate money when they are without it, when they find themselves without it. You come to resent something. It's a matter of jealousy and resentfulness. Not quite jealousy, but something like, oh, resentfulness and then hatred, right? Like, maybe it's a ridiculous question. How does one come to hate a material thing, right? It's like you'd think it's easier to hate an actual human being. Although I would say you're better off hating a material thing than an actual person. Although it's the same scale, but it's the same feeling, except perhaps it's a bit more healthier, directed towards an idea or a material thing besides a human being. But to answer the question, how does one come to hate money, or on a material thing, a material gain? It's the very same way one comes to hate another person. One comes to hate money in the very same way one may come to hate, say, for example, women, right? When there's a lack, when one finds it difficult to acquire such a thing, acquire something, they come to resent it. And actually, interesting topic. What is the more undoing? What is the more undoing negative emotion, hatred or resentfulness? Or are they interchangeable? But yeah, it's like one comes to hate money in the very same way that one comes to hate a girl for not going out with them, for not liking them back. It's on the same spectrum, I would say, right? But I think in the case of money, it's more troubling, right? Because you can be like a pretty, you can be a disturbed fellow, right? You can be you can be resentful towards women, and someone else will tell you, bro, get a hold of yourself, right? Just find someone else, man. Like, it's like, well, it's easier said than done, but like, I think it's easier to find a woman than it is to find money. Although paradoxically, if you don't have money, it's going to be all the more difficult all the more difficult to find a woman. That's an awkward matter of society, whether we like to admit it or not. But I think, in any case, if I were to have either or of the problems, I think I would rather be resentful towards money, right? Because for women, I can easily avoid. I can stay at home, play video games all day, right? Distract myself, doom scrolling, friggin' YouTube or something, right? It's like I can avoid thinking about women, but you can't really avoid thinking about money. You can't, because it's an integral part of living in a society. So you can't. This is a thing you cannot avoid. This is a constant irritation. You want to drive somewhere, you want to keep gas in your car for a week, or you want to drive 20 miles somewhere as expedient as possible. Take the train, and maybe you'll get there in an hour, or have your own car, put gas in the car, and you'll get there in at least half the time, right, or lesser. And it's like you can't avoid this. It's like, so one comes to hate. A way one may come to hate money is if they have a hard time in acquiring it. Another way one may come to hate money is if it ultimately ties back into the same idea, but one may also come to hate money if if it is a trying thing, uh, if it is a matter of greed with them, right? It's like when you have money, you then want more money, right? And that can be quite irritating. It's like you can never have enough money, can you? Or at least it never really feels like it, right? It's like when you have abs, when you have a six pack, you want to maintain it for as long as possible. When you have muscles, you want to maintain, you want to get bigger muscles. You want to lift more. You want to stay fit all the time. You want to look even better. You want to cut from 20% body fat to 15% body fat. It's like when you have more of something, you're going to want more of it. You can never have enough. And some people can, some people can, but a lot of people struggle with this, right? So ultimately, greed may create a resentfulness towards money because maybe you're not very good at greed. No, greed. You may be good at handling money, even if you're greedy with it, right? But say one may come to hate money under the concept of greed, but also under the example of, under the example of gambling, right? And so you gamble somewhere, you gamble a hoard of it, thinking you'll by some chance you'll get more, or maybe you spend it on a crypto scam you didn't think was a scam, but as a matter of fact it was a scam, and maybe you thought maybe you thought you had it under control, but no, you actually got freaking scammed. Yeah, so like one who does not hate money is the kind of person who never really has to worry about it. It's like you're not gonna hate something you don't have to think about, right? You're not gonna concern yourself with something you never have to think about, right? So what do you do when you find yourself in a situation when you hate money, right? Make more, find a way to make more, right? Yeah, answer, find a way to make more money, find a way to make more, die in despair, or find a way to make more, right? Another issue with money, another issue with money. How do you have nothing and be happy? How do you have money? How do you not? How do you live having little to nothing and still be happy? How do you do that? How do you do that? Well, I would say you stop caring. Yeah, that's an easy thing to say, but I think when you come to be at a lack of a resource, such as money, this thing has existed since civilization has been, right? Whether it's paper, coin, I'm tangenting. I'm going to forget where I was. It's like back in the day, money was, I give you 10 horses, I give you 5 donkeys, 3 cows. You give me your child, you give me your daughter, I marry her, right? It's like this is my dowry. I'll give you all this money and cows and wheat and such, all this good stuff. You give me your daughter, and that's how it is. This is how this trade offer is going to go, right? This is how this transaction is going to go. It's like, how do you have nothing and be happy? And the simple answer is you give up. You give up. Well, although when you give up, you're not exactly happy, but there's a certain freedom. There's a freedom to giving up, right? Although giving up, you can take that. That's something you can. Giving up, but not entirely. You have to purposefully give up. You can't just. It's like if you're there's a degree in which you can give up that one may say, okay, that's a healthy amount of giving up, as opposed to, I don't care if I wake up the next day, right? This is easier said. This is all very easier said than done. But I would say one way to have nothing and be happy, as the I think whatever, there was some game company that said that, or there's some politician or game company. I think it was related to digital versus in hand copy video games, where they're plotting to, where they made it rather clear that, well, I mean, they try to not make that clear, but the matter is that people think that they own the digital games that they buy, but actually no, you're only really buying the license to play online. You don't really own it unless you buy it in hand, right? There was something to do with, there was a quote from some rich fellow who said, you will own nothing and be happy. I thought that was pretty funny. That was a very funny thing. I think that's funny, but the kind of person that would say that is someone who doesn't have to worry about having nothing, because they just about have everything that they want, or at least they have enough. They have a lot of what they like. It's like, you're only going to be so full of yourself. You're only going to be such. The only person that will say that is someone who's up a friggin' high horse that they can. It's like you're only, the point is, the only people that will say that are the people that they can afford to say that, right? Essentially. But having gone down this tangent, I forgot where I was. Where was I? Just kidding. I went back in time and found exactly what I was talking about. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I was saying, what I was saying was, it's like, how do you maintain happiness with a lack of a resource such as money, right? It's like that. Well, you give up, give up, right? Although not entirely. This is not like a nihilistic take. It's more like realize what you can and can't do. Like it's like find a way to improve your situation, or give up a little bit more than you should like. But of course, don't completely self-destruct. But this is if you want to keep going on, this is not the way. This is not quite the way. But yeah. Such is the way with money, as I've come to learn. Ironically, money does not guarantee happiness either, right? There's this. It's very comical, where this guy is making $100,000 a year, but yeah, he's pretty freaking miserable, right? It's like, how does that happen? How do you I just remember this example from the famous escapee from North Korea. This lady, what's her name? Yeonmi, right? Yeonmi Park, right? She was baffled by how she escapes North Korea, where like her entire childhood, in her dreams, like all her dreams consisted of is like eating to a healthy stomach, right? That's all she ever worried about. That was the biggest issue, right? And then she comes here, and people are suffering from obesity, right? That's not a very well set up joke there, but in any case, it's not even a joke, right? It's like you come from a place where, well, it's not a joke, but there's comedy there, right? Maybe it's not very well delivered there, but but it's like you come from a place of utter deprivation, into a place of relative poverty, or it's like, the people that suffer from obesity in America are basically like the Jeff Bezos. It's like, like if you were to go to North Korea, you're basically freaking Jeff Bezos there, or you're freaking Elon Musk. Like you're suffering from success. You're suffering from eating all these freaking burgers, right? While these people can't, they they haven't had a full stomach in years and decades, right? And here you are, stuffing your face. It's like you're still poor. You're still like working class, right? You're still a poor person, but you're suffering from obesity too, right? Because like you live in a society where this is possible. It's possible to suffer from an abundance and still be poor, right? So that's like a low grade example of how can one have money and still be miserable, right? It's like there's some dudes that make $100,000 a year, for instance, right? For something, for like a measure that's at least quantifiable within my own head, right? It's like some dudes make that much money a year, and like, man, like they're just sick of their jobs, right? Like they're just sick to death with their jobs. So that it's like you would and going back to the other question of how do you have nothing and be happy, or well, it's like, first of all, you get comfortable. Would you get comfortable with having nothing? Yeah, actually, no. It's not even that you give up. I don't think that's actually not good advice, or that's not the best way to put it. It's more like get comfortable with having nothing, and I think that's like the most valuable thing you can ever take out of that. Yeah, but then what if you come to be in a situation where you find a good job that you don't particularly like, right? You don't particularly like the job, but you found it anyway, and it pays good money, and now you're stable, right? It's like what the hell was that? What what the heck? There was this pause. Anyway, I can just cut that out. Yeah. So like you come to be you come to be under relative stability, right? But then, and after a while, even if you're living in like a really comfortable house, right? You don't gotta worry about money all that much. Say that you hate your job, so like it's like coming from like one extreme to in place of another. So like there's another comedy there, right? That's another comical thing. It's like would I rather be what it's like it's not even a question at this point. It's like, would I rather be poor and 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 find a way to be happy with myself, or would I rather have a lot of money and but I'm doing something that I don't like, something that I despise, something that is like pretty much eroding at my soul. It's like I don't actually get to enjoy this material wealth, right? So like that's a very bitching thing. Now that I think about it, I think perhaps I was wrong initially. Perhaps, well, yeah, it's like, yeah, easily. It's like, oh, surprise, I'm wrong, right? It's like, like you would think the only people who are going to say, actually, no, I see this may not be quite right either, but it's like you'd think the only people who will say that they hate money are the ones who are without it. But then what if you find yourself in a situation where you have a lot of it, but you hate the means by which you're acquiring it, right? In that case, I don't suppose it is money exactly what you hate. Okay, well then I suppose that still stands true, right? In that case, it's not exactly the money that you hate; it's the job. Because like if you're making the same amount of money under something that you enjoy, yeah, but like, well, yeah, that would pretty much solve itself. That would work itself out. But 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 what do you do then? What do you do then if you find yourself in a situation where it's like, it was a story of rags to riches, right? You find yourself in a situation where you once had nothing and now you have a whole lot of you have so much now. You don't have to worry about currency, and that you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about that problem. It's like, yeah, there's always like another problem to worry about. But say you find yourself in a situation where you don't get to really enjoy the money that you have. Say like they give you all this money, but like you don't really get time to spend it, right? You're always busy. You're right. You never. It's like it comes to be. Maybe it's like the money is meaningless to you. That's not necessarily a bad thing either. It's like, I think you should like that money is meaningless to you. Although, again, I think that's more so a luxury of those who have it, right? That's a virtue of the ones that have it, right? It's very hard for a poor person to say money means nothing to them, right? Unless you're content in living in a barrel. Yeah, like that famous fellow, that famous Greek Dionysus. Yeah, that fellow there, right? It's like Dionysus or Dionysius. Yeah, cool name, very very cool name, right? Like I'm thinking, what is a better situation? Okay, this is a very obvious answer, but what is a better situation? Being on the edge of poverty every day of your life, and yes, okay, I'm not gonna say the thing that makes it easy, but being on the edge of poverty every day of your life, or having such an abundance of monetary resource that but you don't get to enjoy your life. Right? It's like, would you rather be poor, or would you rather be successively wealthy, but you hate your life, right? In the former instance, you don't exactly hate your life. It's just that your life is quite uncomfortable. Although I imagine this is more or less the same thing. Actually, this may even be a trick question. It's like you're on the border, you're on the edge of two extremes, right? It's like you're extremely poor, right? You live hand to mouth, but on the other hand, you're very wealthy, but you hate your life, and the money isn't helping you. It's like, what extreme would one pick? Like, what would you rather choose, right? What would you rather choose? Maybe, yeah. Well, I would imagine one would fancy to say, it's like, well, okay, maybe the obvious answer here is that, you would at least rather be in a situation where you have enough that you don't have to worry about it, and at the end of the day, this is the same question. It's a matter of finding. This is the same question. It's a matter of how can I be happy? It's like, because like you're lacking in each situation. In one situation you're lacking money, and in another situation you're lacking well, you're lacking purpose, or you're lacking a meaningful life, right? It's like poverty does not equate. It's like you may be poor, but still have something meaningful, and perhaps the real issue here, in the case of poverty, is that you don't have enough money to take care of that meaningful thing. But in the case of like extreme wealth, you're acquiring all that wealth, but it feels like there is no reason for it. There's no meaning for it. Like it's not, you don't get to enjoy it. It's not doing much of anything for you. Besides keeping you in a position where you're one of the healthiest, you're one of the healthiest, you're one of the most comfortable living animals, you know, on the planet, in the modern day, in the modern day rendition of the world. Although that's a redundant statement actually. It's like, yeah, it's like at any point at any point of the at any point in time, this is the case. It's like you're either middle class, upper class, and you're miserable with yourself, or for because the money isn't doing anything for you, or you're like extremely poor, you have all these ambitions, but what you're lacking is money. So like you'd think the answer is that I would rather have the issue of I would rather have the issue of abundance. But even then, it's not an issue of abundance. It's an issue of this abundance means nothing to me, right? It's like, who would reckon they would rather be poor? Yeah, like who would say actually, yeah, I would pick this extreme over, I would pick the lesser, the extreme of poverty than, over the extreme of wealth, right? Maybe this may be a personal bias, but I think a person is better off. I think a person finds it much easier to be happy when they are deprived of need for a material resource, right? I think you're happier the less money you have, although this is not necessarily true. This isn't necessarily true, but I think the less, what is true though, what I do believe to be true is that the lesser you have, or maybe it's a greater virtue to have little and be happy than to have everything you want, to have access to everything you want and be happy, right? Right? It's like that just makes sense. That makes instant sense. But just because you have everything you want, this of course doesn't always guarantee happiness. Money doesn't always make you happy. Although perhaps you're better off with it, because in both instances, the issue is that, okay, how do I be happy? I don't. I have very little. How do I be happy? I have too much, and it's not making, and I'm still unhappy. How do I solve the issue of unhappiness, right? So like it's the issue. It's the same issue on both ends, but so maybe that's not really a question there, right? Or rather, like the actual question is, which scenario would guarantee one? Which scenario would guarantee that one achieves their happiness faster, right? Like what scenario would guarantee the goal of achieving happiness? That's not a question either. It really depends. It's not a one-way answer. It's not a one-way answer. You can make some pretty good arguments for both, for both ends. It's not a one-way answer. So that's a useless question too. But that's a useless question. Okay, well, I don't want to say useless, but it's no good. It's pointless. I just said the same thing. But okay, so now what? What is the actual issue? It's like you either have too little or too much, right? It's like, pick your poison. It's all the same. It's all the same. Although I'm running in circles. So that's pretty much all the same, right? There's But say, well then, so the problem is that how do you solve unhappiness? How do you how do you make it so? Well, how do you overcome unhappiness due to having very little? Well, you stop caring. You stop caring. You you stop caring in a way that you're not exactly self-destructing, but more proper. It's more proper to say you stop caring by letting go of what can be helped and continuing to do what you can to help yourself out of an unfortunate situation, right? The truly unfortunate situation is that we will always need money. Although that's not, maybe that's not quite right, but I think it's not even money. Like, we will always need something. Money isn't really the problem. It's not really the problem, but it's an ever-present problem. But it's not really the problem, right? Because like if you don't have one problem, you don't have one problem. Like, if you don't have one problem, you have another, right? If you don't have freaking AIDS, you have cancer. Although, maybe some problems are better off than others, right? If you don't have one mortality, if you don't have one mortal disease, you have another, right? If you don't have this, like, it's like you can never run out of problems. Although, this was originally a rant about, poverty, right? This was a poverty rant. Although I've come to a point where it seems to me that it doesn't matter, right? It's like you will have one problem and you will stress about that problem, and then maybe that problem will go away, or that will be your problem for the rest of your life, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So this, like, I've reached to a point where this is all very pointless. So this is an awkward situation now. This is a very awkward situation, right? It's like